Okay, so the Civil War football game will be delayed until 2028. Delayed, postponed again, however you want to say it. This is reporting from the Oregonian, the O. This wasn't some massive PR statement by either university. I don't think they would want to do that. But basically the reporting is from the Oregonian. They spoke with Oregon State AD Scott Barnes. I've interviewed him a handful of times in my local TV days. And Scott Barnes tells the Oregonian, quote, "We weren't able to do that. That was on our side. We've had some adjustments we've needed to make, most recently on our side to get through some things. We're close to a 4-year series that we're going to be announcing." That's pretty damn cryptic. We weren't able to do that. That was on our side. We've had some adjustments we've needed to make to get through some things. What does that mean? We've had adjustments we've needed to make to get through some things. This is sounds like a CEO speaking to a 50,000 employee company. What is that? I don't know what that means. Obviously, Oregon State is now in the Pac-12. I was looking at their schedule. They do have Houston and Texas Tech next year in the non-conference, but then they also have Montana and UTEP. So keep in mind, and this is where my thought first went, Oregon State is now in the Pac-12. They only have 8 conference games. Remember, it's only a 9-team conference in football. So you can only have a max of 8 conference games unless you wanted to replay an opponent, but that would probably mess a lot of things up, so just standings-wise and everything, tiebreaker-wise and everything. So they're always going to have, as the Pac-12 currently constructed, they're always going to have only an 8-game conference schedule. So in theory, it should actually be significantly easier for them to schedule Oregon. There's really no excuse. UTEP and Montana are on their schedule next year. You could easily boot one of those out. Now, my thoughts are, in addition to that, it sounds like it will resume in 2028 and maybe run through 2031. That is what Scott Barnes said was getting at when he said we're close to a 4-year series that we're going to be announcing. So I imagine there's going to be some kind of PR statement this spring that says the Civil War's back on from 2028 through 2031. This will be the first time since 1944 in the 128-game series that Oregon and Oregon State will not play each other this year. First time since 44. It's such a bummer, man. We already knew it was happening this year, but we didn't know it was going to happen next year as well. Just a massive bummer for everyone in Oregon who grew up with this rivalry. Obviously I've been around it for multiple decades now, but people much older than me have been around it for a long, long time. And it's really... I think it was Bill Orem who put it in the Oregonian. It says Oregonian as Marionberry Pie. It's Haystack Rock, man. It's the game that means so much to all of us, and it's just a bummer that it's not going to get played. Now, I was talking with my buddy Marcus Greaves, shout out Marcus, former Oregon State running back who now lives in the Atlanta area, and I was like, does Oregon State just not want to play this game? Because to me, that's what this all feels like, is Oregon State doesn't want to play this game. Remember when Mike Gundy went full Mike Gundy and was like, oh, Oklahoma, you're moving to the SEC? Yeah, we're just not going to play anymore. See ya. And Bedlam, the 120-plus year rivalry, just ended, basically. I hope they can bring it back, and I think there are talks of that, but Oklahoma State was like, yeah, we're good. Screw you guys if you're leaving us behind. And it does feel like Oregon State feels that way. However, I'll also say, yes, it feels like, Oregon State's being left behind, but I think they also don't want to play the game because there's such a massive spending disparity and therefore talent disparity right now between the two schools. How could you blame Oregon State? And this is what Marcus told me. I think it's a good point. If Oregon State is not going to spend to the level that Oregon is because they don't have Uncle Phil's checkbook, which is, obviously true, you can't even blame them for not wanting to play the game because they don't want to get blown out. The last game was 41-7. I mean, Oregon's beaten Oregon State by 20, 30, 40 points consistently in the last decade. It's been a one-way street besides, the Jonathan Smith game when he beat Dan in Dan's first year and Mark Helfrich's last season. Besides that, I mean, it has been a thoroughly dominant game rivalry in favor of the Oregon Ducks. that being said, like with Oregon State, I don't blame them for not wanting to play the game because there's such a talent disparity right now. They don't want to just schedule another blowout. Like, what if they started the year with Houston, Tech, and then Oregon next year, and they were just blown out for the first 3 games? Like, remember how big of a disaster this season was for the Beavers? Like, dude, what did they finish? 2-10? I mean, it was just like they lost to Sam Houston at home, which, by the way, Sam Houston was a 2-win team this year. That was like an all-time low point for the program. And again, fire your coach halfway through, no conference to speak of, etc. Like, I get it, but now they have a lot more stability in the Pac-12. But I think, to me, postponing the Civil War and Scott Barnes telling the Oregonian like it was on our side, basically acknowledging like Oregon wanted to play, we didn't. Like, I think that basically says that Oregon State just doesn't want to play the game anymore. Now, I think they know that it's important to their fans. I think anything's possible in sports, so maybe Oregon has a really bad year and Oregon State has the best year of their life and they're able to upset Oregon. But with the current NIL structure, that's what really messed us all up, right? Like, we all remember the epic rivalry games throughout the early 2000s, mid-2000s, late 2000s, the Civil War for the Roses in 2009, pre-NIL spending. Talent was much more equal. The games were amazing. I think the Civil War peaked in 2009 when it was the Civil War for the Roses. Mariota truck sticks, was it Lance Mitchell, the name of the DB, at Autzen, and Oregon barely wins. LeGarrette Blount comes back, and LaMichael busts a long touchdown run, but Oregon State plays great with Jaquiz Rogers and James Rogers, and who they have, Canfield at quarterback, I think. Like, that was probably peak Civil War, and god damn, it was amazing stuff, wasn't it? I mean, that was sensational stuff. I don't think as long as the NIL era is there as it's currently constructed, we'll ever get back to that. And I do think that Oregon wants to play the game. Dan Lanning has constantly said publicly he wants to play the game. I think that Oregon State just doesn't want to play the game. And from an Oregon perspective, man, I hate that. And it's not anyone's fault. It's the NIL era. It's one side has a ton of talent, the other side doesn't. I remember last year when, like the week leading up to the Civil War last year, I was listening to some sports talk radio and just reading Twitter and stuff. And like a lot of people on the Oregon State side and just in general just didn't seem excited about it. They're like, what's the point of playing this game? I want to say my buddy Nick Krupke at Fox 12 took a vacation day that day. He literally didn't even cover the game. Like, can you imagine? And Nick Krupke is one of the best sports reporters in Oregon. Can you imagine being like, yeah, like I'm good. We don't need to cover the Civil War for football. That was until the NIL era started. That was the biggest sporting event in the history of the state every single year, barring like the Blazers making the finals. Every single year, that was the biggest sporting event in the state. And now it's like, we're good. We don't even need to cover it. Like Fox 12, Nick Krupke, great sports reporter in Oregon, been there for over a decade, didn't even care to cover the game. Like, that, to me, is wild, but it also says how people feel about the game right now. To me, personally, I still think it's an incredibly important game for the state. I really do. I understand the talent's out of whack in large part due to the NIL. I understand that. I think from an Oregon State perspective, I certainly understand where they're coming from. Like, dude, we don't want our best players to see this game and then leave for Oregon. Atticus, Sappington, and others. Like, we don't want our guys to get blown out by our in-state rival every single year and then just leave after a year, even though college football is totally just a one-year sport at this point anyway, or all roster management's year to year. But I just feel like, I don't know, man, I just feel like it's going to be really tough to maintain the rivalry as it currently stands, and I don't even blame Oregon State for it. I think it's the fault of the NIL era and not much else, but I do know that Dan Lanning wants to keep playing the game, that Oregon wants to keep playing the game. My only proposed solution would be, what if Oregon just pays Oregon State $1 million every year? Like, what if Oregon comes out and they say, or they don't even have to say it publicly, I guess, like, just to keep this game going, like Oregon State, instead of you guys buying Montana, for $800,000 or however much that costs Oregon State to get Montana to come through, like, we will pay you $1 million every year, home or away, and we'll play the game. I feel like that'd be a good way to do it because I know that Oregon State, the NIL deal at the Pac-12, the TV rights deal with the Pac-12 is, I want to say like $6 million a year per school, which is nothing. I'll look that up and double check that, but it's not much. Like certainly in comparison, obviously to the Big Ten. If Oregon offers to just pay $1 million every year to play the game, like I would do that if you're Oregon State. At some point you might be like, like we're gonna get blown out again. But we all know how much this rivalry game means. Like if Oregon State was hosting Oregon this year, place would sell out. Reeser would absolutely sell out. Like we know it. Oregon State fans still go hard as hell for their Beavs. Been a really tough run here since Jonathan Smith left, but they still go hard as hell for their Beavs. Like I think if Oregon pulled up, especially if Oregon had a lot on the line, like Big Ten title on the line or college football playoff berth on the line, or I guess the game would be played in September, so maybe that wouldn't. That's true. That knocks it down, but I still feel like it'd be awesome. Like, yes, it's weird that it was played early in the season this year. It's gonna take some getting used to, but I don't know, man. To me, I would still play it, and I think the only solution that I can think of right now, anyway, if Oregon State doesn't want to play it, because I don't even blame them for the whole talent disparity blowout situation. Like, what about if Oregon pays them $1 million or $2 million a year, helps their athletic department? They get to host the game every other year. Obviously, that helps ticket sales, local economy, donor money, etc. Like you get all your best donors a box for the Oregon game. Again, I know it's probably gonna be a blowout, but still cool. And I don't know. That would be my proposed solution. Like trying to be solution oriented here. That's what I would say. But I don't blame Oregon State. It doesn't mean I have to like it. It doesn't mean I don't want the game to happen. I certainly want the game to happen, and hope it resumes in 2028 for the rest of time. I'm not one of those people out there who says cancel the game forever. Like a lot of curmudgeons seem to be like, cancel the game forever. The whole talent disparity. I'm not in that crowd, man. I know how much it means to the state and these people, and hopefully it can resume in 28 and go on forever.